ultimately what it takes is to peel back the layers to get down to the core issues. And very often that helps to have a mentor or a coach and coaching session. But you've got to get down to the core issues. What
matters most to each person?
And why? What's the underlying cause of the underlying cause? I often
or the underlying motivation.
What's the motive? What's the value? What's there? Because I often meet people and they're like, I just want to always be gone, or I just want to always be home, or I want to be XYZ, whatever it is. And you have to get to the core issue and be like, what is it? Why? I don't know. Because of this. Why? Because of the why. You keep asking why. You keep digging all the way down to the core. And then you and they realize, well, it's because of this. Very often it's some kind of avoidance pattern. It's some fear, some insecurity.
Or it's even just something as simple as
subconscious
needing a certain thing in order to feel comfortable or in order to feel secure. Or, we've talked about the 6 human needs a lot. It's usually one of those needs that needs to be fulfilled. But when you get creative, you can find different ways to fulfill them that end up meeting both persons' needs.
Yep, exactly.
Even the thing, you talked about being a homebody and a traveler. I mean, you guys kind of know, like, I really am actually a homebody. I mean, yeah, I've been to 57 countries, but I'm still a homebody. And for me, that just required that in order for us to travel, and Greg knows this, I have certain requirements. Like, I have to have
massive suitcase with lots of stuff, fancy Airbnb.
Nice Airbnb is another one. Like, I have certain requirements. Like, this is what I need in order to travel. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't do, a certain adventure trip. We went to Mongolia. It was adventurous and rough. Don't laugh. But that's not something I can do long term. I can't go and live in Mongolia. Like, I couldn't live there for a year. That would just be too much for me. I can go for 2 weeks. And then I want to go to my nice luxury hotel, right? So, but by identifying the things that I need,
yes,
and by the time limits that I can endure, I'm able to compromise. I'm like, yeah, I'll go to Mongolia with you.
Okay,
yeah, I can do that.
This is huge. So everybody listen up right here. This is massive for finding a common vision with your partner and your kids. At first, when we're kind of we lack self-awareness and we're not used to talking about this, she's saying, no, I don't want to travel.
I can't do that.
And I'm like, babe, I want to travel. I don't want to travel. Like, why? Like, I don't want to travel. I just don't want to travel. I want to be home. She keeps repeating the same thing. I don't want to travel. I want to be home. Like, okay, tell me why. And we did this, you guys. We walked. I'm like, tell me why. Well, it's just it's uncomfortable. Okay, what's uncomfortable? Well, it's just
things could go wrong.
Yep, you're right. What could happen? What could go wrong? We kept going until we got down to a core issue. I'm like, okay, what would have to be true for you to actually enjoy traveling?
Well, I would need to have a very clear itinerary.
See what I just did there? This is how you do it. What would have to be true for our circles to intersect? What would have to be true for us to get on a similar page or to do things we both enjoy? Like, what would have to be true for us to have a shared vision?
Or what would have to happen? Or what would you need to have?
So she's like, well, I need a planned itinerary. I need this kind of accommodation. I need to be able to bring this much stuff with me.
Everybody's sleeping.
Yep. I need to know all the things.
I need to be able to bring my stuff.
And so for me, I was like, okay, none of that's important to me, but if it's important to you and it gets you out traveling, I'll do it. Boom. And she's like, well, I want to do these things and see these things. Okay, great. And then I tell her, I'm like, hey, I want to climb Kilimanjaro. She's like, I'm out. I'm like, oh, okay. What if you stay in a really fancy resort at the foot of Kilimanjaro in absolute luxury with all your meals provided with the little girls? Then will you go to Africa? And she's like, I'm in. So there we go. Like, we got to go to Africa. She stayed at this luxury resort while we puked our guts out on the mountain. Win-win.
Win-win. It was more a win for me, I think.
We all went down. We're like, wow, you had it really nice down here. This this is amazing. There's something to this. You see the difference there? I want to climb mountains and she wants to have a little spa. And we did it on the same trip. You guys see that? It's a perfect metaphor for what we're talking about here.
And then on the other side, the whole homebody thing, because you guys know for a long time we were nomadic, which I opted into. I chose, in a way, I initiated.
That was your crazy idea.
It was actually, but we were homeless for, I don't know,
Years.
10 plus years. And we moved from country to place to place, and it was great. But after a while, I was like, I'm done. I need a home. I need a home base. And so then instead of it being, we're done traveling, we're giving it up, it's horrible, it was like, okay, what do we need to do in order to make this possible that we can do both? Because initially, we were broke, we didn't have a lot of money. And so in order to travel, we had to give up having a home. And actually, ironically, initially, when you do that, if you give up all of your living expenses in the United States, it's cheaper for you to travel than to live in the United States. So it was cheaper. It was cheaper for us to travel than to live in the US. But then over time, of course, it gets exhausting, especially after 10 years. And so we needed to do both. And we said, okay, what do we need to do in order to be able to do both? To have a home base and to keep traveling. And of course, one of the requirements was like, well, we just have to make more money. That solves that problem. If we make more money, then we can have a home base and we can travel. And then of course, we got the home base in Georgia. You guys know the story of it was boring. Greg was bored out of his mind because Georgia was boring. And so then the next level was like, okay, I don't really care where my house is. I want my house to have these certain things, right? This is what I want in a house, but I don't care where it is. So that's how we ended up in Portugal. I have a house and he has adventure, a playground. He's got the beach and he's got mountain biking and he's got kayaking and paddleboarding and surfing and all the stuff. So, we just had to keep exploring. And what I just summarized for you was, that's happened over the past 15 years. Not that it has to take that long, but I'm saying we continued to level up what it was exactly that we wanted by having this ongoing conversation of like, okay, well, what exactly do we want? I'm not happy with this part of it. How do we improve that? How do we change that? How do we add to that? So it's this
and all along the way, we're accommodating each other. And Rachel wants 17 pillows on every bed in our place. We have 17 rooms in this place. I want big, mean, tough dogs. She, I was going to say tolerates my dogs. She doesn't. She just hates them. But she hasn't killed them, right? But I get my dogs. So we can coexist. There's just,
especially because the dogs are not in the house.
if they're up to me, they'd be sitting here on my feet right now, keeping my toes warm. But they're not allowed in the office when Rachel's here.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? Like you just figure ways out. You can both like.
The point is we're very different and we want very different things. So it's not, I guess what I'm saying to you is I get it, but it's not impossible. It just requires work and exploration and creativity and thinking bigger, thinking beyond the box.